The influence of the ancient text is still felt hundreds of years later in the work of an 18th century German named Franz Mesmer.
Mesmer is a brilliant scientist, a physician, interested in healing, develops a notion he calls animal magnetism, which is a theory of body energy that he thinks he can manipulate and control for healing purposes.
1776, the palace of King Louis XIV. Mesmer convinces members of the court they will experience convulsions of pleasure if they touch a barrel full of common iron filings. When many at the court faint or collapse in fits, Mesmer becomes the first to prove the existence of the power of suggestion.
The king and his advisors realized how dangerous Mesmer and his ideas really could be, so they pretty much sent him packing. But to date, his name is infamous.
Unsealed case file. Nazi mind control. The 1940s. A world at war. Adolf Hitler and the Nazis build on Mesmer's work in their efforts to create a master race and achieve global domination. Mind-altering drugs, administered to unwilling prisoners at secret locations, test the limits of human endurance.
Nazis wanted to have the perfect warrior. They also wanted to be able to control their enemies.
With the combination of hypnosis and hallucinogens like mescaline and LSD, the Nazis seek to completely override the free will of their own soldiers.
In the research done by the Nazis, they were using massive doses. To overdose on mescaline is a trip to hell. It is convulsions while being in an altered state. It is a terror ride.
Fortunately, Hitler was defeated before he had a chance to assemble his army of brainwashed murderers. But after the war, did a trials after World War II, a decade of Nazi mind control experiments, come to light. America soon faced her first Cold War battle with the Russians over who got the Nazi scientists. Unsealed case file. Operation Paperclip.
Operation Paperclip was a program that was designed to bring over Nazi scientists to share their intelligence with the United States. In exchange for full immunity and wiping their slate clean, their new resumes were paperclipped to their photo and they were sent off to work for different military intelligence offices.
In the years immediately following the war, hundreds of former Nazis were granted U.S. citizenship in exchange for their expertise.
Why did we want this? Because we wanted the control the Nazis were trying to develop. This is scary. We don't think of ourselves as that kind of government, but all governments want control, particularly when under threat.
As early as 1947, the Navy is building on the Germans' mind control research. Their objective: complete control over the human psyche. The program was codenamed Project Chatter.
Project Chatter was a United States Navy operation that aimed to really develop a truth serum, a truth drug, that we could use on captured intelligence officers.
The idea is that perhaps in large doses they can be given to someone who has a secret. Truth serum doesn't work very well. False confessions, misinformation, jumble, confusion. You get all sorts of things.
While Project Chatter is shut down 2 years later, a much more insidious program soon takes its place. Unsealed case file. MKultra. In 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles declares that a new era in psychological warfare has dawned. He refers to the fight as a battle for men's minds. Dulles' lead weapon in this skirmish, Project MKultra.
MKultra was the CIA's attempt to experiment in mind control.
MKultra includes an astonishing 149 different experiments testing the limits of the human mind.
Somebody was given LSD for 174 days or something like that in a row. They just want to see what happened.
Another MKUltra experiment utilized two IVs, one in the right arm and one in the left. In the right arm, they would inject barbiturates. In the left, they would inject amphetamines just because they wanted to see the effects.
Another subject, an Army bioweapons expert named Frank Olson, suffers a nervous breakdown after being slipped a megadose of LSD in a cocktail and ends up either falling or jumping from a 10-story building.
The United States government never admitted any liability, nor could they on grounds of national security. They settled with Frank Olson's wife for a large sum of money. And the terms of the settlement were not disclosed.
By the 1970s, rumors of the existence of MKUltra could no longer be squelched, despite the government's best efforts.
The CIA tried to erase all this. They shredded most of the document.
About 20,000 pages survived because they were mislabeled as financial information in the CIA archives. They were released in the 1970s during a congressional hearing, which is finally when all the MKUltra information came to light.
Witnesses who claimed to be victims of the CIA's mind control experiments revealed the techniques the agency used on them.
And then the drug began to take hold very rapidly because it was an IV injection, and things became very furry and very frightening.
Other methods included electric shock, hallucinogens, sensory deprivation, and hypnosis. The stated goal of MKUltra was to enhance information retrieval from captured enemy agents. The unwitting victims of their experiments included college students, servicemen, prisoners, and even the wife of a Canadian member of Parliament.
Nobody explained it to me. Nobody ever asked me if I was willing to do it or anything.
According to the government, MKUltra was officially ended in the 1970s. But what if its effects are still yet to be felt?
We don't know how many people are still walking around. How many people are literally walking time bombs waiting for the psychic trigger that set them loose.
Coming up, new technology makes previous attempts at mind control look like child's play. And it's already in your own backyard.
It just happens that these radio waves are very similar to the frequency of brain waves, which is raising.
Shadowy agencies could be controlling your thoughts through high-tech trickery. RFID technology was originally created to track farm animals and pets. A chip in the animal's ear transmits his identity to a reader. Researchers have been experimenting with human RFID chips for decades, and it's only a tiny leap to imagine the day when those implants provide information and directions to their hosts, whether they like it or not.
We know the technology is there. What we don't know is what secret agencies might be doing with it.
If the idea of having your mind controlled by a tiny microchip sounds far-fetched, maybe that's what they want you to think.